Have you ever felt like the smallest thing can completely ruin your day? One comment, one look, one unexpected silence, and suddenly you're spiraling? You try to act like it doesn't affect you, but deep down it does every time. And maybe the worst part is you blame yourself. You think, I'm just too sensitive, I need to be stronger, but what if your emotional pain isn't proof of weakness? It's a sign that no one ever taught you how to truly understand your inner world. Most people live in reaction mode, not reflection. They confuse automatic emotional responses with personality, assuming this is just who I am. But the truth is, you're not broken. You've just been untrained. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, understood this deeply. He once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment." That one line contains a radical truth. The world isn't hurting you, it's waking up something inside you that was already there. The reason certain words cut deep isn't because they're powerful, but because they touch wounds you've never truly faced. A rejection today echoes a silence from years ago. A small failure feels unbearable only because you've tied your identity to success. And the real tragedy is that you've been taught to suppress, perform, and push forward, never to pause and ask, what's really happening inside me? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." It's not the event, it's the meaning you attach to it. And that meaning often comes from stories you never questioned. I'm not enough. I'm invisible. I must earn love. So if you're tired, not just physically, but emotionally, don't assume you're weak. Assume you're at the beginning of a new kind of strength. One that starts by asking better questions. One that begins when you stop reacting and start observing. Because the moment you realize your reaction is your choice, you start to reclaim a kind of freedom most people will never find. One of the greatest sources of your suffering is your silent attempt to control everything you were never meant to control. You want people to respect you. You want life to be fair. You want your plans to work out the way you imagined them. And when they don't, when people disappoint you, when life becomes unpredictable, you feel betrayed, helpless, maybe even angry. But the truth is, you're not being betrayed by life. You're being betrayed by your expectations. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, gave us the most powerful psychological filter humanity has ever created. He said, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." That's it. That's the line that can free you, if you have the courage to apply it. What does that really mean? It means that in every moment of your life, the world divides into two clear categories. The things you can control, your actions, your words, your mindset, your choices, and everything else. What others do, how they feel, the weather, the past, the outcome. But you don't live like that. You try to control your partner's mood. You try to control how people perceive you. You try to control outcomes, avoid judgment, predict how life should unfold. And every time you fail because you will, it creates suffering. Not because life is cruel but because your mind is at war with what is. Here's the paradox the Stoics understood. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more out of control you feel. But the more you take ownership over the only thing that's yours, your inner world, the more powerful you become. It's not easy. It takes awareness and practice. But it starts with this one internal shift. When something disturbs you, a rejection, a comment, a setback, stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Start asking, "What part of this is mine to control?" Sometimes the only thing that's yours is your breath, your posture, your choice to not spiral. And that's enough, because that moment, the one where you reclaim your response, is where your freedom begins. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, led his life in the middle of wars, betrayal, loss, and death. And yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind and not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." So next time life feels unfair, next time someone rejects you, misunderstands you, ignores you, don't waste energy trying to fix them, change them, or control them. Instead, return to what's yours. Return to the only battlefield that matters, your inner state. Emotional strength is not the absence of pain, but the presence of something deeper. An inner foundation that doesn't collapse every time the world shakes. The reason you keep getting hurt is not because people are cruel, but because your sense of worth still depends on things outside of you. You think that if they approve of you, you'll feel whole. If they love you, you'll feel safe. If everything goes according to plan, you'll finally be enough. But that's the lie. Because anything built on the outside can be destroyed from the outside. The Stoics understood that true freedom begins only when you stop outsourcing your value. As long as you believe that your worth is something to be earned, proven, or protected, you'll remain fragile. You'll keep chasing validation and fearing rejection. But the truth is, nobody can give you what you've refused to claim for yourself. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The pain you're avoiding, the discomfort you try to hide from, that's not your enemy. That's your teacher. It is showing you where you've placed your value on things that don't belong to you. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The reason criticism shatters you is because deep down, part of you agrees with it. The reason silence hurts is because you've never learned to be your own source of attention. The reason failure terrifies you is because your identity is still built on success. But what if you changed that? What if instead of proving your worth, you started living as if you already had it? That's the core of emotional immunity. Not numbness, not indifference, but the quiet, unwavering belief that nothing outside you can define what is already whole within you. Imagine a person who no longer flinches at rejection because they no longer see it as proof of their unworthiness. Imagine a person who doesn't need to win the argument because their self-respect isn't built on being right. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. It's the result of doing the hard work of turning inward, of finding what the Stoics called your inner citadel, a part of you that cannot be touched because it belongs to no one but you. And when you live from that place, the noise of the world becomes exactly that, noise. You may still feel pain, yes, but it no longer defines you. You may still fall, but you no longer collapse. Because you have stopped trying to earn your worth and started embodying it. That's when you become unbreakable. Not because life no longer challenges you, but because you've built yourself on something it can't touch. You don't build emotional immunity by resisting pain. You build it by facing pain in small, deliberate doses until your nervous system no longer sees discomfort as a threat. Most people want peace without friction, confidence without risk, strength without challenge. But the Stoics knew better. They believed in training the mind the way soldiers train the body, through discomfort, repetition, and daily exposure to the things we instinctively avoid. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show men what they are." If you want to stop breaking down every time life pushes you, you have to stop hiding from the very things that are trying to strengthen you. This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming conscious. Emotional immunity is not a gift. It is a discipline. It means choosing every single day to expose yourself to life on purpose. It means doing small things that your mind resists, just to prove to yourself that you can. Wake up early when your body says stay in bed. Speak the truth when your fear says stay quiet. Put down your phone when your addiction says scroll. These are not small acts. They are mental rewiring. They teach your brain that you are not a slave to impulse, not a puppet of fear, not a victim of emotion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would meet the meddling, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful. Not to become bitter, but to prepare his mind for reality. That's the Stoic way. Expect difficulty, then train for it. If you wait until you feel ready, life will always catch you off guard. But if you treat every discomfort as a training ground, then nothing surprises you. You may still get hurt, but you won't be shaken. You may feel sadness, but not collapse. Because you are not just reacting anymore, you are choosing your response. That's the difference between someone who is emotionally fragile and someone who is quietly powerful. One flinches at every comment. The other sees every challenge as another repetition in mental strength. The world isn't going to become easier, quieter, or more fair. But you can become someone who walks through it with clarity, with calm, with the kind of inner stability that doesn't need to control everything, because it has already mastered the only thing that matters, itself. You don't need to become someone else to find peace. You just need to become more fully yourself, without the noise, without the masks, without the constant pressure to prove that you're okay. True emotional strength isn't about becoming untouchable. It's about becoming whole. The world can still try to hurt you, but it can no longer find where to hit you because you've made peace with the very parts of yourself you used to hide. You've stopped begging for permission to feel okay and started reclaiming what was yours all along. Your response, your power, your presence. The Stoics never promised a life without pain. They promised that pain could become your teacher, not your master. So what now? What do you do with all of this? 3 things. First, every morning, take 2 minutes to write down what's outside your control today and consciously let it go. This isn't weakness, it's alignment. Second, throughout your day, whenever you feel triggered, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this? The story is almost always more painful than the event. Third, choose one small discomfort each day, something your mind resists, and lean into it. That's where your edge is. That's where growth begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you look." You don't need to escape yourself to be free. You need to return to yourself with full attention, with full acceptance. And when you do, the chaos of the world no longer controls you because your center is no longer out there. If you've made it this far, it's not by accident. Something in you is ready to stop surviving and start living with clarity. If this spoke to you, write in the comments, "I choose inner strength." Let it be your declaration, not to the world, but to yourself. Because that is where everything changes, not when life becomes easier, but when you stop needing it to be.